This is the setup I used for snare and kick drum. I'm splitting the signal in 2 or 3 ways. The snare sound is generated by a random bit with the noise option activated, with no attack and half delay in the envelope section. The microsequencer controls where I want the sound of a snare. First, turn all the way down all the knobs, and turn all the way up just where you want the snare sound. The kick drum section works only with a filter with a very slight cutoff and about 3/4 of peak. The third section is optional. Use it if you want the motion or light bits to work at the rhythm of the song. The rhythm of the drums are controlled by oscillator. Start with a very low frequency and turn it up until you achieve the desired rhythm. The hi-hat drum section is working with a microsequencer, which rhythm is controlled by the pulse bit. Turn all the way up the knobs of the microsequencer where you want the sound of the hi-hat. The sound of the hi-hat is produced by the noise generator with a no attack and light decay on the envelope generator. It's important to set the peak of the filter as high as possible just before it starts to buzz. You can use the delay bit to produce the effect of the 16th note. For the bass part, I'll be using the Monotribe sync control application for iOS device. First, connect the output of your device to the microphone bit. Set the microphone bit switch to Other. Next, connect the inverter and microsequencer to the keyboard where you'll play the desired note through oscillator. Remember to adjust the tuning of your oscillator before proceed. Put next an envelope generator and connect its trigger input from keyboard trigger output. Set the envelope a half attack and 0 decay to get a sidechain effect. Finally, you'll get a sequenced bass line like this. The electric piano keys works with both 2 oscillators. Remember to get them well tuned before proceed. Split the signal from the keyboard into both 2 oscillators. Send the trigger output of the keyboard to the trigger input of the envelope generator. Mix back both 2 oscillators into mixer, the first with all the volume up and the second with a very low volume. Filter them with a half cutoff and a low peak, the envelope generator, no attack, and 3/4 of decay. Next, I will record 4 chords. Each chord is made by 3 notes. Each note of the chord will be recorded and overdubbed over the others. For the guitar section, connect the phone's output of your guitar amplifier to the microphone bit. Because I don't have an amplifier, I'm using the iPad software AmpKit. Turn the switch of the microphone bit to sound and play with the delay parameters. You can get a lot of crazy sounds by tweaking these controls. The little arp effect is also played with the guitar. The setup for this sound is very similar to the other guitar. Just switch the microphone bit to other and put oscillator just after the microphone bit. You'll get a sound like this. The setup for recording vocals is very simple. You just need a microphone bit connected from the power source to filter and delay. The filter is optional. It could give you some kind of telephone effect. After recording from your microphone, you may need a noise gate for noise reduction.
Dance like a cowboy. Dance like a cowgirl. Dance.
The little brass section is quite similar to the electric piano part. You'll need a tuned oscillator and a keyboard where you'll play the notes, with an envelope generator with a low attack and a half delay. Finally, you'll have to overdub your recording, just like we did in the electric piano section. The bells effect is just a little sequence where each step of the micro sequencer sends a main note to the oscillator and a second note through the trigger output to the random voltage bit. This second note needs a very low volume because it's just intended to be some kind of harmonic effect. The rhythm of the sequencer is controlled by the sync control application of the iOS device through the microphone bit. You have to play with the delay controls to match the effect to the tempo of the song as much as possible. When you're ready, push the button to play the sequence. Finally, we mix down all the sections and we have our song.